Hi all, welcome to Sahidi, a place to discuss literature and criticism. Today we are discussing the great Roman poet Horace's observations on drama and satire. All the views that I have shared in this video is taken from an introduction to the study of criticism by B. Prasad. So let us move on to the video. Horace's observations on drama can be seen in his most famous work Ars Poetica, whereas his observations in satire can be seen in his two books of satires. We have already done a video on general introduction to Horace, his views on classicism, and his observations on poetry earlier. In his observations on drama, we can see that he is more or less inspired from the ideas of Aristotle. In many ways, his observations were a copy of what Aristotle said in his Poetics. Here, Horace mainly comments on the plot, characterization, and style while constructing a play. First of all, Horace discusses about the plot of a drama. Horace is of the opinion that the plot should be from a familiar material, that is, a story that is known to the public, a known legend. So he was much influenced by the Greek writings, and he says if you can take the story from a Greek legend, it will help the author to distinguish himself, to showcase his uniqueness in the treatment of the subject. So when you take a new story, the reader may not be able to understand your peculiarity in treating that particular theme. But if 3 or 4 writers rewrite the same story, it will be easy for them to showcase how they differ from the other writers in the treatment of this particular subject. So that is what he means by saying the dramatists to select their theme from a known legend or from a familiar material. But he was not against selecting a new theme. He says if you are selecting a new theme, it is perfectly okay. But you have to take care of certain things when you write about a new theme. The first requirement is that you should be consistent from the beginning to the end. That is, whatever you write should form an organic whole. It should form an indivisible whole. The beginning should automatically flow to the middle, and the middle should automatically flow to the end. There should not be a break or a gap between these parts of a play. It should form into an organic whole. And the dramatist should also take care to avoid all the irrelevant information. He should include only the most important events in his play. If he goes on including all the irrelevant happenings that happened in the life of a hero, the readers may get digressed. So, he should include only the relevant information. Now, while structuring his play, he should take utmost care to make those events which are difficult to believe in a reported form. So, if there is a scene like a mother murdering her child, it cannot be staged because it is a terrifying act. Or if there is a role of a supernatural power or something that you find very difficult to believe, such events should be reported. So when you hear, you may tend to believe than you see it. So such sights, that are terrifying sights or fearful sights and unbelievable things, etc., should be reported. Then another thing that Horace says is that if there is a problem in the play which cannot be solved by the human beings, if there is a disease which cannot be cured, you can introduce a supernatural element to solve that problem. So then you can say that the god cured this particular disease. So Horace says in such instances where there is no other way, you can even introduce supernatural powers to solve the problem. Another comment that Horace made on drama was about the chorus. As we all know, chorus was an integral part of the Greek tragedy. So he says, when you include chorus in your play, it should be integrated into the play in such a way that it should not disturb the integrity of the play. It should not disturb the unity of action of the play. So if the chorus stands apart, the beauty of the play is destroyed. So the chorus should be designed in such a way that it forms an integral part of the play. Then after all these things, Horace gives a comment which was actually new to the public at that time. That was regarding the length of a play. So even though earlier critics said that the play should be of optimal length, it should not be too short or it should not be too long, none of them actually specified the number of acts in a play. Horace was the first person to comment on the number of acts in a play. Horace says it should not be shorter or longer than 5 acts. Even though it was a new idea, most of the writers and critics followed his idea when the drama revived after the Renaissance. Horace next speaks about the characterization in a drama. So as he stated in the case of a plot, here also Horace says that a dramatist can either model a Greek legend, a Greek hero, or he can create a new character of his own. If he is copying a Greek legend or an existing hero, the new character should be true to the original character. That is, the dramatist should not change the basic characters of that hero. It should be more or less similar to the character in the original work. If he is inventing a new character, if he is giving birth to a new character, the new character should be consistent. It should be true to himself. That is, his character should not change according to the situation. So throughout the play, he should have the same character. But there are instances where one character will have 2 or 3 different faces. But there we have some reason for their change in their manners. So if you cannot justify it, it will be considered to be a fault from the part of the dramatist. So in all the cases, the dramatist should try to make his character consistent from the beginning to the end. Then next, Horace demands that a character should be true to life. That is, a small child should behave like a child and a young man should behave like a young man. A small child cannot behave like an old man because their experience in life is different. If such errors creep in, if the character is not consistent or if it is not true to the life, it will be considered as a foolishness from the part of the dramatist. Last of his observations of drama comes his views on style. Horace considers iambic meter as a suitable medium for drama because of 2 reasons. The first one is that iambic meter is very similar to the spoken speech form. The second one is that in an iamb, the second syllable is pronounced louder. This is very helpful in a Roman theatre in those times when there were no mics or audio systems. So when the second syllable is pronounced louder, it will help the audience to understand the dialogues or the verse form easily. Next, he elaborates on the difference in the language used for tragedy and comedy. As we have seen in the writings of various critics, tragedy makes use of serious themes and therefore Horace feels that tragedy should use an exalted language or an elevated language to meet the seriousness of its theme. Whereas a comedy can use everyday language, then only that satire or that humor will reach the audience. But at times, you can see exalted language in comedy or humble language in tragedy in order to meet the requirements of that particular character. So there can be changes But normally Horace says, or he favors, exalted language for tragedy and normal common language for comedy. And when he speaks about the style, he says that the propriety should be observed. That is, the speech, if a child is speaking, the dialogue should be proper to that child. So there is a change in the way a God speaks and a human being speaks. So that should be kept in mind while designing your dialogue. So that is what he says about the style. It should observe propriety. It should suit the age, gender, circumstances, etc. of the character. There is a difference in the way a male and a female speak. So such things should be kept in mind while designing your dialogues. Next, we move on to the observations of satire by Horace. All his observations on poetry and drama were discussed in Ars Poetica, whereas his observations on satire can be seen in his books of satires. Horace considers satire as a new verse form which is unfamiliar to the Greeks. We can see this as a statement which is partly true and partly false. It is true because when we speak about the different kinds of poetry that existed in Greece, satire was not a part of it. But it is partly false because this satire was practiced in different forms. Mock epic is another form of satirical writing. So Horace says that satire is a feature of the Greek comedy. But a lot of Roman characteristics crept into this comedy and made it a new form called as satire. Most of his observations on satire can be seen in Book 1, where he does a criticism of Lucilius. So he elaborates on the qualities of a satirist in his criticism of Lucilius, and he says the primary quality of a satirist is wit. That is, he should have an inborn talent to please people, to evoke some pleasure in the audience. Then he should have a faculty to see the fun of things. So even if it is a serious subject, he should be able to see some fun in it. Then he should have the power to hit hard. So if in order to evoke some pleasure, in order to evoke some comic effect, the dialogue should be a powerful one. You cannot elaborate on something and evoke laughter. In one dialogue, you have to evoke laughter. Then sincerity of expression. He should express his personality in the work. These are the qualities that we have seen in Lucilius. Whereas he adds some more qualities. There is perfect workmanship. That is, a satirist should be doing his work in the perfect manner. Any small error can destroy the comic quality of the work. Then he should bring in a polished style and the tone should be varied. He cannot use the same tone in every work. Then there is no humor, because humor is something that needs change. So you cannot use the same humor, you cannot use the same tone in every work. In order to emphasize his observations, he again repeats it in his book 2 of satires. He says satire is witty and pleasure giving, and it should not be abusive. Nobody should be hurt because of our satire. Then the main aim of satire is to correct the problems in the society. It doesn't mean to punish those who did something wrong. It just want to correct the problems. The sin or the sinner should not be targeted. You should not speak ill of a person. You should not make a person feel bad. Then he speaks about the three conditions. That is, one should use everyday language. Satire should be very brief and it should be polished. If it is very long, if you go on elaborating on something, it is not going to bring in any humor. It will become a tragedy instead of a comedy. And it should use a very polished language, some elevated language. So these are his general observations on satire. Thank you.